Hello to all of you beautiful, amazing souls. If you're new around here, hi, my name's Evie. If not, welcome back to my channel. So far in this Understanding Maladaptive Daydreaming series, we have looked at paracosms and parames. In this video, we are going to finally look at paras. Now, para was a term that was adopted by the Maladaptive Daydreaming community to help better explain what they are or were experiencing. Now, in short, a para is basically a character that a maladaptive daydreamer creates. Now, don't quote me on this, but I think the maladaptive daydreaming community started out using the word character, but it's important to understand that these paras are, maladaptive daydreamers are very attached, like emotionally attached to their paras. So the word character wasn't quite doing it for us, so we use the word para because these people are much more than just characters to us. Just like maladaptive daydreamers can have different paracosms, maladaptive daydreamers can have different sets of paras that live in different paracosms. For example, if a maladaptive daydreamer has two paracosms, you can have one paracosm that has one set of paras, and then you can have another paracosm that has a completely different set of paras. So these paracosms have completely different people in them. You can have paras that are based off of people in this reality, so they're not necessarily the same as the people in this reality, but they can represent them, I suppose. I'll give you an example. A lot of people who are maladaptive daydreamers, if they don't have a very stable or safe home environment, often they will create what I like to call para-families. They're basically families that are made up of paras, so characters that this individual has created, and they live in the paracosm. So if, for example, this maladaptive daydreamer doesn't have a very good relationship with their mum, but they crave that and they want a good relationship with their mum, but realistically that isn't going to happen in this reality. Sometimes a maladaptive daydreamer will take... Why is it so light all of a sudden? Sometimes a maladaptive daydreamer will create a para to reflect their mum in this reality, but change their mum's character to fit what they want and what they need. So yes, maybe this para looks like their mum or plays the role of mum, doesn't necessarily have to look the same, but plays the role of mum in paracosm. They aren't the same people, but a lot of characteristics can be transferred from this reality to that reality. You can have para friends so you can have paras that are based off of friends that you have. How I usually imagine a para based off of somebody in this reality is created is you start daydreaming about this person, not in a weird way. Basically what happens is you put this person from this reality into your paracosm because you enjoy spending time with them and you want to incorporate them into your life, your other life. But the world is different in that paracosm, so you kind of have to incorporate the major events that happen in your paracosm into the life of this para that you have taken from this reality. Because they have now different life experiences to the person in this reality, obviously going to be different. So they kind of get manipulated to fit correctly into the paracosm. Another thing I've noticed with myself is sometimes I have paras that I don't realize represent people in this reality. So if I'm close with someone in this reality, a para can form in my paracosm and I don't realize that they're there to represent this person, because if you've watched my daydreaming theory video, I have a theory where it's like my paracosms and my daydreams I use to process information. So it would make sense that if I'm close to someone in this reality, I have a para in my other paracosm to represent this person, because I need them to represent this person in order to process events that happen with them. but that's like getting off topic. So yeah, sometimes I realize if a major event happens to this particular person in this reality, a major event that is similar, not necessarily the same, will happen to this para in this reality. I mean, in my paracosm. So I'm like, oh, they're connected. And then I kind of look back and I'm like, well, that makes sense why that para dated this person at the same time that this person started dating this person. Like, and it all connects. But that doesn't happen for everyone. Sometimes it's just, yeah. I'm going to share a bit of my para life, but yes, I have a para family. I didn't have the most stable homes when I was younger, but that isn't really, it was a complicated circumstance, and most of the adults in my life were doing the best they could with the situation that they were given, but obviously, yeah, it's just is what it is. But because of my life and how unstable it was and my home life was unstable, I created a para family because I wanted stability, and if I couldn't get that in this reality, I was going to get it in my paracosm. So I have experience with my paras being there and giving me something that this reality denied me, basically. Stable childhood and a stable home. Paras provide emotional support, and it's so weird because I value my para's opinions above pretty much anyone else's, which sounds weird for someone who does a maladaptive daydream, because I understand how that can sound like, well, basically you are valuing your own opinion above everyone else's. And I understand that's what it sounds like, but I often feel like it's my me trying to tell myself in the embodiment of this para things. Like, if my particular paras, tell me not to do something, I'm not going to do it. If you tell me not to do something, I'm probably going to want to do it. Just because you've told me not to. It's so important that you understand that paras aren't just characters to us. I value my paras' opinions. My paras are just as real to me as any other person in this reality. It sounds so weird, but if I'm in trouble and I'm in a situation and I don't know what to do about it, and I need advice, I'm going to go to my paras. And I understand how that sounds to someone who does a maladaptive daydream. I can get that, you know, you're basically going to yourself to ask you for advice, but see, my paras are such a big part of my life. They aren't just characters. They never will be just characters. That's why we say paras, not characters. These paras literally raised me. Not all of my caregivers when I was a child were like this, but there were roles that weren't fulfilled in my childhood that I needed, and these paras provided that. They helped raise me. Without them, I don't even know where I would be, quite honestly. They have talked me out of so much. I have been through so much with them. They have always been there. It's weird, like, they are such a big part of my life. And it's not just when they're daydreaming that they're a part of my life. When I'm like actively daydreaming in my paracosm, they are with me 100% of the time. I don't think people understand this. For example, if I'm going somewhere I don't want to be and I feel uncomfortable, my paras are walking next to me. as far as I'm concerned, my para is right next to me with me. And I have had this kind of support for as long as I can remember. Asking someone to just stop daydreaming is basically asking them to give up this. And I understand that there is a small group of maladaptive daydreamers that don't have well-formed paras, but I don't. If you're a maladaptive daydreamer, it's gonna develop into paras. It's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna happen. Again, these paras have been part of my whole life. They've helped raise me. They've given me comfort. It's like asking, think about the person you are closest to. Asking a maladaptive daydreamer, and if you're a maladaptive daydreamer, you don't have to imagine, because you probably are closer to your paras than anyone else, so it wouldn't work. But if you're not a maladaptive daydreamer, think about the person that you feel most safest with and you trust the most. Asking a maladaptive daydreamer to stop daydreaming is like telling a maladaptive daydreamer to kill that person. That's a bit extreme. It's more like telling someone that you have to move away from this person, move to a different planet, never ever speak to this person ever again. The person that you feel most safest with, you can never speak to ever again. No contact whatsoever. You have to move to a completely different planet. That is what it is like. If you love your family, then it's exactly the same as telling a maladaptive daydreamer to never speak to their family again, because these paras are my family. Like, yeah, I have family in this reality, but I have a family in that reality too. That's why it's so hard. Like, don't tell me to stop, because you sound very uneducated. They were there for me when I was denied things in this reality. I know this is true for a lot of other maladaptive daydreamers. They kept me alive in the most darkest times. They are the reason I am still here. Hopefully you can understand why we say paras are not characters, because they are not characters, they are family. I was going to say not all paras are created to represent somebody in this reality. A lot of paras are just formed. They just poof, they just happen. Sometimes you just need a friend and you daydream about having a friend, and they're not well developed, but eventually they turn into a well developed para, because that's what happens when you daydream about a para for long enough. Anyway, that's all for this video. It took a dark path, but yeah, I hope I empathized how, you know, emotionally attached we are. I hope everyone is well, and I hope I hope you're able to relate to this video, and I hope you have a bit more of an understanding of maladaptive daydreaming. But like always, stay unique.